Ladies and gentlemen, this is a real treat for myself as I welcome Candace Cameron-Bure to the studio. It's weird.
Thank you.
We're around the same age, and it's weird for me to say that I kind of grew up with you. I grew up on watching you on TV.
Because I was in your living room on television, right?
Right. Because I, to be honest, everybody knows you from Full House, but I remember you did a bit part on Growing Pains, your brother's series.
Yeah.
And then Full House came about, and that's where you grew up, and America fell in love with you, and whatnot. And then you went on a whole bunch of other ventures, including the reason that you're here now for your book, Dancing Through Life: Steps of Courage and Conviction, when you went on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience. Yeah, I've been busy. I got a couple of things I'm doing.
Going through the book, it was an interesting time in your life with this show. In the whole scheme of things, wasn't a lot of time as far as that show goes, as far as your training, the actual show, and to where you ended with the show, and to be able to put out a book where so much seems to have happened and affected you and changed you for the better. From a TV show of all things in such a short period of time compared to your whole lifespan of with Full House and with your strong religious beliefs and life and what have you there, that to come through with a book like this on such I guess a microcosm of what your entire life is all about.
Right. Definitely. I had wanted to write a book on conviction for a while, and I really felt like I didn't have the right platform or the way in which I wanted to write it well. And after my experience on Dancing with the Stars, which was 4 months because I went to the finish line, I came in third on the show, it really transformed me in, like you said, in such a short amount of time, but the changes were so everlasting. The lessons that I learned I will take with me forever throughout my life. And that's how much it affected me. But it was one of those things that I was scheduled to write a different book. And after the show ended, I called up my editor and I said, I want to write about this opportunity, and I think using Dancing with the Stars is the perfect framework to write about courage and conviction, because that's really what this whole experience was about. And so the book, even though, yes, I use Dancing with the Stars, I talk all about each week on the show, and you get a behind-the-scenes look. So if you're a Dancing with the Stars fan, you'll enjoy it from that aspect. But if you've never even seen the show, there's just so much more to the book, then it's not really about Dancing with the Stars.
Right.
It's about living life with courage and conviction.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because I only got into Dancing with the Stars, later on when it's on. I remember that it's on, and the book does reflect where at first you're thinking, oh, it's just behind the scenes of the show, but it's really like, this was my time during the show, but this is what my life was doing while I was doing this. So it really stands apart, where if you don't know the show, you can still enjoy the book and still understand everything you were going through.
100%, yeah.
Did you get any pushback when you decided to do this book? You said you were telling your editor, not necessarily from the book publisher, but from Dancing with the Stars, and saying, hey, I'm going to do this book. Did they kind of look at it and go, there might be some issues with this? Or?
They certainly were, wanted to know exactly what it was about. They're like, what are you writing, some kind of tell-all and going to share all of our secrets? Not that I think they have these big secrets.
Don't tell them about catering.
But yeah, they certainly wanted to know. And when we gave them the outline of the book and even the chapters of what the content was going to be like, they saw it and read it. And they obviously know who I am and what my points of view are. And when I explain this is what the heart of the book is and what I want to write about, they were completely on board, and they said, oh, go right ahead. But I am the first one to write a book that talks about the entire experience, because other people that have written books who've been on that show, it might be a chapter or a paragraph about Dancing with the Stars, but this book is about the entire 12-week journey.
Yeah, some people would use it just like as a footnote in whatever their whole career is and everything, and you really put yourself under your own microscope.
Yeah.
It wasn't like somebody did an expose or a reporter was saying, hey, look, I'm going to write sort of an autobiography on you in this portion of your life. You're going, I'm going to put myself up front and I'm going to dissect myself and kind of break yourself down and put yourself back together in a better way.
Yeah, because I think that's what I love in life. When you hear, we all want to learn from one another. We kind of want to know what secret works for you, what doesn't work for you, what experience have you had that helped you here and helped you there. And I love to encourage people. I would love to inspire people. I like being inspired by other people, and so that's why I write the books that I do. This is my third one, and I feel like, hey, if I gain some knowledge along the way that can help someone else, I want to pass it on.
When you decided to go this route, you said you were going to write a different kind of book, but then you went this way. What kind of consideration was laying on you as far as, all right, if I do this and dissect myself here, how did you judge it as far as how it may affect your family? Like, putting yourself out there is one thing, being a public figure, but did you worry that, oh my God, this could open my family up to something else that I don't want? Or, I mean, was that a concern?
No. My family means everything to me, and my husband and my 3 kids, and they rode this journey along with me, and they were there through it all. But I'm a really open and honest person. Obviously, if I'm going to talk about something publicly, I would never be afraid to talk about that with my family. It's been discussed with my family before I would share something publicly. So they were excited. They loved the journey along with me. Even as a mom, that was a big part of the journey of being open and put my fears aside and be courageous enough to do something that was totally out of my comfort zone. And I think that's a great lesson as a mom, to not only talk about that with your kids, but for them to see it in action.
All right, that's good, because I would worry too. I mean, doing radio, whenever, I really don't mention my family or my personal life if I don't have to. If it makes sense, I would, but just because there's people out there, it's like, I don't want them going after, opening up my family to, criticism or scrutiny or anything like that, just because I'm trying to, be honest about myself and my life. So I know that always weighs heavily on what I'm going to say and how I say things. I just didn't know if that was leaning very heavy as far as your choice.
I kind of put everything out there, and my family knows it. My book before this was called Balancing It All, and it was, how I juggle being a working woman and having 3 kids, and yet there's so many stories that I talk about my kids, and of course I ask them. There's stories about in this book with my kids that I use as examples, and I always make sure they're comfortable with it. But I was like, hey, do you mind if I write about when this happened and that happened? And if my kids say, hey, can you just not share that part? Of course, I would never do that. But, my husband also is a professional hockey player. I've been in the spotlight since I was 5 years old working. We just have that life where we're comfortable sharing it with everybody. And I know not everyone is, but for me, it's, like easy breezy, and I don't mind. And my kids are the loves of my life. So they kind of know, like, Mom's going to talk about us.
I don't know what stories I can talk about, because we obviously want people to go and get the book and read everything. The book is Dancing Through Life, Steps of Courage and Conviction. But one of the stories I found interesting was the mermaid costume issue.
The Ariel
costume. Can we talk a little bit about that? Can you explain what this issue was?
Yeah, well, it came down to modesty, which is what a lot of that chapter was all about. But I had made a comment in the beginning of the show before when I decided to do Dancing with the Stars. They said, well, what do you feel about the costumes? And I just said, I love the costumes. It's amazing, but I definitely want to stay on the more modest side of costumes. Because really, if you want to go out in just a bra and a G-string, you could.
Which a lot of people do.
And I was like, but that's not me. So I want to have fun. I want to enjoy the costumes, but be on the more modest side. So it was, there was so much controversy that I got this song Mark Ballas and I danced to from The Little Mermaid, and I was dressed as Ariel, and Mark was dressed as Sebastian the Crab, and it ended up being one of the favorite dances of the entire journey for the fans and for me. But because it was like these little seashells that you wear as a top, and the stomach is exposed in this mermaid skirt, it was you couldn't imagine that a costume could cause so much controversy. And when you look at it, it really...
It was nothing.
It was nothing.
That was a 1950s style complaint. You know?
Completely. Which,
she's showing her ankles. Oh my God,
Yeah.
she's a heathen.
To which, to the credit of the costumers, because it was great, they made a costume that allowed me to feel really comfortable and confident and good in, that I knew wasn't going against any of my own personal convictions. And I learned along the way that, listen, we all have different convictions. We have to stay true to what ours are.
Right.
And we're not going to please everybody. But then, you know, I talk a lot more about, well, what does modesty really mean? I think modesty is more than just hemlines and necklines. I think it's the way we carry ourselves and our character and how we treat one another. And so there's all those kinds of life lessons within the book.
Now, Disney ABC didn't have a problem, right? It was more of the viewer.
No, not at all.
The viewer,
just some of the people were,
that, right?
yes.
So this is what I found interesting about this particular, with the modesty lesson and all. But Dancing with the Stars, ABC, Disney property. Disney obviously owns Little Mermaid.
Right.
Everyone's cool with it.
Yeah.
But people watching are having the problem. It's like, what era are we stuck in?
I'm a Christian. No, I'm a Christian woman, and I have a very specific audience.
Right.
I have quite a broad audience, but within my Christian community, there's certain standards, which, I mean, a lot of people think I am a conservative person.
Right.
But within that community, you know, not everything's black and white. There is gray, and that's where we have to make choices based upon our own conviction. But some people who think, you know, maybe I'm not conservative enough. But some people think I'm not liberal enough.
I get that. Okay, I understand that, especially you know, with the community that you're a part of. It's a family movie. It's a children's movie, you know, in a lot of ways. And you're just portraying the character.
Yeah.
It's not like you were wearing fishnets and, you know, like some kind of thong and leather and whatever.
Well, I think after it was finished, it was much more well received. But there's always those people in the bunch, no matter what group you're associated with. You always have some people that just don't see it your way and will nitpick and call you out on whatever they can. But I mean, after that particular week and I wore the costume and did the dance, there was a lot of great and wonderful positive feedback.
I saw a lot of it. I went back and looked at a lot of stuff, especially the videos that are on their website and YouTube in the comment section, and everyone thought you looked beautiful. And the dance, I think, was like the dance of the night as far as what you guys did.
Super fun.
So, reading about the turmoil and this little controversy, if you want to call that, it just seemed
It was a lot. It was, I mean, that particular week had made me so sick to my stomach because that was the kind of turmoil I was dealing with, was like, well, this group of people, I know they're going to be upset if I wear this. And it came down to me trying to please everybody.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the lesson that I learned is I'm not going to. And as long as I'm comfortable
with the choices
and I
you make,
can stand before God, I could stand before my husband, my kids, whoever those important people are in my life, and say, I'm okay with this decision. I'm not going to regret this decision. That's what I have to be okay with.
Now, with that said, there was another portion of the book here where you were talking about your responsibility as far as your social media was concerned, because you started to notice by being on the show, your Facebook likes went through the roof, your Twitter, Instagram, all of that stuff. And you started to, I know the shows were encouraging you to be more socially active, to promote the show, promote what you're doing. But I guess anybody who isn't in that position doesn't realize the heavy responsibility and almost a burden that's put on you to be public like that, forcefully be public like that, and then deal with the fact that everybody's now paying attention. Usually it's like you throw stuff out there and hope somebody sees it, or maybe somebody will get the comment or the joke you're trying to make. But now everyone is like, it's like having a concert, and then everyone turns around from the stage and is now looking at you in the back of the concert there. So you were explaining about your social media and the responsibility that comes with it. How did that hit you right away, and then how have you progressed since then?
Well, I love social media. It's such a great way that I get to connect with my fans, and that's how I see it. So I'm one of those people that really enjoys it. I like the interaction, and I do it all myself. I don't have people running my social media for me. But with that said, because I have millions of followers on social media, it can sometimes get really, really tough, and especially for the people that don't agree with you and can be really mean and hateful. I mean, at some point you just have to turn it off and not allow it. But at the same time, that stinks because I really enjoy interacting with people and having conversations and the banter back and forth. And I mean, the reality is we're in the entertainment industry. So without your fans, without people watching you, we aren't able to do what we want to do. So I really like social media, but I had to learn how to use my block button and my delete button. I've gotten much better at that.
With Twitter, if you just hit mute, you don't see their comments, but you still get the followers. You don't. Your count doesn't go down. So this way you're blocking it, but keeping your numbers up.
That's good.
Little trick if you haven't looked at that.
I just block them because I just want. I'm like, if someone's being that mean and negative, I'm like, I don't need that in my life.
Right.
I don't want to read it. I don't want it anywhere around me. But, so I do talk about in the book of how should we conduct ourselves online? How should we talk to one another when we disagree with people, or when we think that we need to tell someone that they're doing things wrong, or they're not making good choices. I mean, at what point do we say that online? Do we call someone out? Especially too, if you don't know that person well, and I'm not just talking about a celebrity, but if you're on a Facebook page, you're a friend of a friend of a friend that you comment on their page. And I think that so many people can hide behind a computer screen and write things that they would never say face to face to a person. And that's what happens with it. And so, I hope I send a good word, and hope that people would consider how they talk to one another online, and to be encouraging instead of negative and discouraging or mean.
You said about being in the entertainment industry, and you've been a person, and your family have been people who are very strong in their convictions and true to their religious beliefs, and been very public about it. When did that all start to sink in as far as the religious importance in your life? Was it during? Was it before Full House? Was it during? Was it after? And I don't want to say how, because I guess everything explains it, but I guess applaud you for the fact that you still maintain that in a time when, religion right now kind of gets everyone looks down upon it, or it's saying it's causing a lot of problems, whatever, and people really aren't fans nowadays, or even sticking with their own religion.
Yeah.
When did you find out that this was important to you, and the whole progress of keeping that value while also being in the entertainment industry?
Yeah. I started going to church at 12 years old, so it wasn't something that I was brought up with for my entire childhood. But at church, I started, at 12, I started going to church. But it didn't really become personal for me of making a conscious decision of like, hey, I actually want to read the Bible. I actually want to know what this says, and I want to believe it because I believe it, not because my parents taught it to me.
Right.
And that was in my early 20s. And I remember, I read this really great book that got me, called The Way of the Master, that just got me thinking. And I'm like, I want to know at the end of the day, is this truly what I believe? And if I do believe it, I can't pick and choose the parts that I want to believe or that sound good or make me feel comfortable. I'm either going to believe it for what it is or not. And so that, again, was in my early 20s, and I decided that, hey, God's really important to me, and I want to know who he is, and I want that relationship with him for me. I mean, between the two of us, and that's really been it. But I think once that clicked for me, because it's not like, listen, I wasn't like a child actor that went down some bad path or got into drugs.
Yeah, you totally avoided the childhood actor syndrome.
So it wasn't, people can, say that religion's a crutch. And I'm like, I've been living a very good and healthy life that is I feel really blessed and grateful and thankful for. I'm like, but I never hit a wall where I'm like, oh, things are getting bad. I need to turn to something. So this really was a conscious decision of saying, I'm actually going to read the book and see what it has to say. And then I'm going to decide if I believe it. And I do. And that for me, I think is why when you ask or say, you know, appreciate that I've stayed true to it, it's because I actually genuinely believe it. And I want to walk the walk. I don't want to just talk the talk and say I believe something, but it's really half-hearted.
Did that sit in your head, or at least maybe in your parents' head, when you're doing acting as a child, that especially with the Full House had such a long run, that you maybe in your head like, oh man, I hope, you know, after this is done, this isn't the end for me. I hope, you know, I'm not going to go down this path. Were you conscious at that time that you were going to focus and not go down that path, as you said, like other childhood actors do?
No, that just isn't who I am. I have great parents, and I've had a great childhood, and it just wasn't something that I wanted to be a part of. So I, you know, have good, like I said, good family, good friends, and
so nobody worried about it. They were like, she's a good kid. She'll come out of this okay.
Totally, yeah.
I'm running out of time with you. The book is Dancing Through Life: Steps of Courage and Conviction. You can get it Amazon and wherever books are still sold.
Yep.
You know, if you find a bookstore
everywhere,
after you marvel at the fact that there's a physical bookstore, go in there and get the book. You know, like
there's lots of great pictures in there. There's a Kindle version, but there's 64 pictures in there if you pick up the real.
Well, I did enjoy really the photo. Well, you know, you can't do an interview, I guess, without a little bit of Full House being mentioned in there. But
yes.
With Andrea there behind the scenes,
and
with
we have
you.
our new show Fuller House that'll be on
Netflix
next year, which we're having a blast. We've taped 2 episodes so far.
Does it feel like you never left?
Yeah, it does.
It just clicked right away again?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, we've all maintained our friendships forever, and we're all really close, but it feels, it's so great.
We, on the morning show that I work on, Opie and Jimmy, Bob Saget is a good friend of ours. He's been a regular for like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And Bob never has anything bad to say about the show, but he really loves you kids as if you were his own. He has nothing but great things to say about you every time.
None of us have anything
comes up.
bad to say about each other. We all love each other.
No, but I just found it adorable that he treats you as if you were, you know, really his kid, even though he played your TV father.
I feel like I take care of him all the time. I am like his real life daughter, always looking out for his best interest. I love him. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
Fuller House on Netflix coming out next year, you said?
Yes.
Did you ever, while doing Full House, did you ever watch Dave Coulier's other show, Out of Control, when it was on Nickelodeon?
Oh, I remember that. Oh, goodness, it's been such a long time, but I remember he had that show. Okay,
I was just curious because he did, I saw some of those things translate into eventually characters and Joeyisms as far as Full House goes from that show. So I was just wondering, because as a kid I watched it, because it was on Nickelodeon all the time. I was just wondering if you ever saw that either.
I know I did back in the day, but, you know, it's been a long time. Probably been 20 some odd years.
Well, Candace, thank you so much. Candace-Bure on Twitter and Instagram. It's CandaceCameron-Bure.net is the official website for you. All right. And the book, Dancing Through Life: Steps of Courage and Conviction. It's your 3rd book.
Yes.
Go out and get it, Amazon and wherever books are sold.
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming in. I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you. And like I said, you know, we're around the same age, but I grew up watching you. That's such a weird thing to say, but it's the truth.
Know.
And I really appreciate you coming in. And when Fuller House comes around, I'd love to talk to you again.
Sounds great. I'd love to.
Thank you.